Hey Leamons, welcome back to another video of mine. So today's video is a story time about middle school and how it absolutely sucks. Because honestly, who didn't have a bad middle school experience? I'm done middle school for anyone who didn't know. Actually, I just finished getting through high school too. But I've had so many middle school stories I wanted to talk about, so why not make a story time about them? Brief warning, this video ended up being a bit sadder than I expected, although by the ending, it does become happy, no need to worry. Just for clarification, my school system worked a bit differently than some other places. I went from grades kindergarten to grade 6 in elementary school, grades 7 to 9 in middle school, and grades 10 to 12 in high school. Which was weird, but the reason for this was simple. Way too many kids and not enough room in all the schools for them to fit. We had around 2,000 kids by the time we were all in high school. There were a lot of people in my grade I didn't even know existed. Anyways, I'm going to talk about middle school and how it sucks. It may have been some of the worst years of my life, if I'm being real here. Before we start, I wanted to quickly mention that I do have new merch in my stores, so please go and check that out after or before this video if you're interested. I made merch of my main mascot Leamon, and a few of my other characters too. I'm currently trying to figure out why it won't show on my merchandise shelf. Super annoying. I've contacted YouTube and Teespring, but until then, you can click the link in my description and the pinned comment section to reach my merch website store. Anyways, I'm Leamon Puppy, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get started with the video. So, middle school for me was awful, and quite frankly, I never wanted to be there. I remember being so excited to start middle school when I was going from grade 6 to 7. I had so much spirit and joy, I didn't know what I was stepping into. I should have been warned. The school system somehow made lists and grouped your middle school classes with friends you hanged out with in your elementary school. So it was like 3 or 4 friends of yours that you knew in your class, and then the rest of the class was just random. You stayed with this chosen class for all your different subjects and courses. I'm unsure why they did this because literally the next year in grade 8, all your classes are randomly rotated. They don't try to put you with your friends like they did in grade 7. It made no sense, but it was good since I was with my 2 best friends at the time. Or so I thought they were my best friends. Up until spring break, we were all super close friends, and then after spring break, when we returned to school, they ignored me. Out of nowhere. I didn't do anything to them. I didn't say anything mean. Actually, I've always been the kind of person that's too nice for my own good. I was always a people's pleaser. At the time I was, at least. So when I got back from spring break, they treated me like I didn't exist. Like I wasn't there. I heard from other people in my class that they were even talking behind my back, saying mean things about me. I thought they were my best friends, and you know what? I don't think I had ever experienced anything like that before. People I thought that cared about me just turning the other way, and even talking behind my back, and so suddenly too. It broke me. And guess what? They were my only close friends at the time. I felt alone. I walked those halls each morning and was anxiously looking around at people. I was thinking all sorts of things, worried people knew I didn't have any friends. I started not wanting to go to school, dreading lunchtime because I would have no one to even eat with. It really didn't help me focus at all in school. I started faking being sick or faking headaches just so I could leave. And it worked sometimes. I went home when I was completely healthy, when I totally could have attended my classes I had to miss. My parents, they felt bad for me, but caught on when I tried to fake being sick. They stopped letting me come home for my pretend headache, but they also told me I needed to try to find new friends, that I needed to get some courage to meet new people, because otherwise nothing would change. And they were right. So I stepped out of my comfort zone and I tried to talk with more people, to befriend some other people in my classes. And I did. I became friends with 3 new people, and I felt better by the very end of the year. And then grade 7 ended and I never talked to those kids again, as I didn't get in their classes the next few years, and unfortunately, sometimes you drift from people when they aren't in your classes. It's just what happens. Also, I always thought that my old best friends would come to me and apologize one day for what they said about me and what they did to me back then, but they never did. I even had classes with some of them in future grades, like all the way up to high school, and we didn't even speak at all. And that'll happen in life. Life is real and not always a happy ending. I just moved on. Grade 8 rolled around and I was thrown into something called a learning community, and I don't know if any other schools do them or give a different name for it, but I'll explain it anyway. It's something the school district was enforcing that year, and some people in our grade were technically the guinea pigs, which means the school had no idea if it would be a good idea or not, But that didn't matter. They just tested out on us. If we suffered the next year in math or science, that wouldn't be on them. It would be on us. And it was just 3 different classes. All the other kids in grade 8 were in regular classes with regular rotations, but those regular grade 8 kids were actually jealous of the learning community because the learning community went on field trips all the time, way more than anyone else in the school. We went on weekly walks to garden to write down in our sketchbooks they provided for us. We usually had like half the day to work on a passion or interest of ours. I obviously just decided to draw, and actually that's where my interest peaked and I decided to make a YouTube channel. We only did math like 3 times that whole year. That's actually really bad, but at the time it was awesome. Basically, the learning community was centered around learning real-life skills, but it wasn't that at all. It just became the most easy, chill school experience anyone ever had. And then screwed more than half the people the next year when they entered grade 9 math, as they didn't learn any grade 8 math, which kinda was a problem. I ended up being okay, but some kids really did struggle, and I felt bad for them. That wasn't fair. But not many terrible things happened to me throughout the learning community in grade 8. Like, in my class, I had 3 people I slightly knew, so we all just decided to become friends on the spot. It's kind of funny how it happened. Like, we all just looked at each other and realized we had to be friends, since we're now stuck in the learning community for the rest of the year. I can honestly say it was a decent year for middle school, and that's saying something. But then grade 9 happened, and that's a different story. In grade 9, I had many things going on. First of all, it was my first actual year of having classes that go through rotation, since in grade 8, well, you know what happened. Most of the kids in grade 9 were already used to the system while I was just figuring it out. I had like no classes with any of my friends. I had to rely solely on lunchtime to see them. You know how you have a class and just sit beside someone that you kinda know enough to talk to, just so you know you have someone and aren't sitting all alone? Well, I had a lot of people that I sat with like that because I didn't have my close friends in my classes. Although I had one class where I didn't sit with anyone. I was alone, and I really disliked that class. It was history, and I liked the teacher and the course. But being alone made the class awful to me. It ruined it for me, and I never felt comfortable entering it. It just put me back to my grade 7 mind. All my racing thoughts I had when I felt alone. I was back to that awful, lonely feeling anytime I entered that history class. But it was just something I had to deal with. I couldn't skip out on that class. I learned from all my years up until that point that faking a headache and leaving school wasn't my answer. So I pushed through, and I got the best grade in the class. I mean, I had no distractions, so I guess that could be why, but still. Things were going rather okay for me other than that one class, or so I thought. So basically, my friends in grade 9 were the same ones I had back in the learning community. We all just remained friends after being together so much. But one of my friends, since I'll be mentioning her a lot, I'll give her a fake name. Let's call her Abby. She started talking behind my back while I was her friend. Abby didn't break the friendship off. She just decided to talk behind my back to her friends. I heard from my other friends in the group that she would say mean and awful things about me. And it was nice of them to tell me that Abby was talking about me, tell me the truth. But they were still close to her as well, while being close to me. So you have to assume they didn't defend me or say much back when Abby said those mean things about me. So yes, they told me, but they weren't so great either. They definitely were not defending me. Abby talked about the way I walked. Apparently it looked super weird to her. Literally no one ever said my walk looked weird my whole life, but I guess it looks weird because she said so. Abby thought I was too nice and too agreeable. Her words, not mine. I guess I was, since she said so. Abby thought I did my makeup poorly, which I had acne at the time. I tried covering up as much as I could with makeup. No matter what I did, it didn't look very good. Actually, around the time I decided to go on a pill that totally cleared my skin up to this day. I haven't had acne since middle school. But anyways, at the time my face and makeup looked bad because she said so, I guess. I believed those things Abby said about me. I shouldn't have, but I did. And it gave me doubts about myself. I became worried to talk or meet new people because I thought something was wrong with me. I became overly shy and quiet. So much so, I wasn't social whatsoever. Abby kept saying rude things about me behind my back, and I eventually just left the group. No one kicked me out or ignored me like my previous situation in grade 7, but I couldn't handle it anymore. I didn't like hanging out with people that were okay with what she was saying about me. Something about that bothered me, and I especially didn't like hanging out with Abby after what she had been saying about me to the others. I found other friends, and I stuck with them for the rest of my year of grade 9. I never really felt close to them on a personal level, but at least they were nice to me and had my back. I remember the end of the year being boring. I just didn't really have any friends I clicked with, but sometimes that's just the case. It can be really hard finding friends that you connect with on a deep and personal level. It could take you years. But when you find them, try to keep them in your life, because they're rare. Also, fun fact, Abby is my friend again now. By the way, she noticed I totally left the group and started hanging out with other people, and I guess that maybe bothered her, because she came to me and said sorry and we made up. I was still upset with what she said in the past, but I forgave her after she apologized, and we aren't best friends, as I didn't want to be, but we are friends, just like decent friends, like the ones you check in with every once in a while. And Abby moved houses a few years back. She's actually my neighbor now, so that would have been awkward if we weren't friends. I don't really know what would happen there. But just know that you're you, and no one else is gonna be you. And if people tell you things that you might not like to hear about yourself, who cares? Sometimes people say those things because they're unhappy with themselves. And you gotta know yourself to truly feel confident about yourself. So just be you, with the imperfections and the perfections. Anyways, that's all for my middle school sucks story time. Believe it or not, I've had good and funny memories from middle school too. But for me, it's mostly a lot of bad ones. If this video did well, I'd consider talking about the funny or good parts of middle school too. I just thought discussing them in this video would clash the mood and tone completely, as, you could kind of assume why. So I chose not to mention them, but with that, I'm at the end of the video. Don't forget to check out my merch if you are interested. Leave a like. It's been Leamon Puppy. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys all next time.